Shana Tova. Nice to see everyone back here again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are once again back in this beautiful sanctuary together, celebrating another cycle of 12 moons. And we know perhaps better than most just how to announce this profoundly special day. It's with the sound of the shofar, a perfect instrument. Now, Louis Armstrong, who was raised by a Jewish family, and I would know this because it was in New Orleans where he was raised, and he wore a Star of David, by the way, his entire life. And he did this in recognition of the people who raised him. He once explained why he loved playing the trumpet. And Armstrong replied, "I need to play an instrument in which the music comes from deep within me." And so our prayer, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, tonight begins a period of 10 days for us. Sometimes we will be reading ancient words from a cherished book that generations of Jews have uttered as well. Other times, the music will be coming from deep within us, reflections that are uniquely ours. Oh God, please accept our words and our melodies. But more important, enable those melodies to stir our hearts into a deeper commitment for this year. And so we begin our service on page 8 with Esa Enai, and you should just know 1/2 second that on the screen will be the page number, or at least I will try to put the page number on. From time to time, if I move away from the bima, I may not change the page number appropriately. But here's the thing. The reason why is because it helps cut down on the number of times we announce the page. So if you want to know, take a look at that screen. Generally speaking, that's going to guide you in the right place. Esa Enai, page 8.
May
so integral to our High Holy Day experience. And also, for that matter, our year-round mission as well, but certainly for our High Holy Day experience. And we have people here who are financial supporters of our music experience here, and they make the music possible, and we are so grateful. And during these holiest days on our calendar, we are blessed with Ernie Green's leadership of Live Arts Maryland and its presence with us here, to be sure. And I want to tell you that you can support Live Arts Maryland and therefore support Temple Beth Shalom by going to their website and donating to them. He did not ask me to say this, but I wanted to. Or you can buy tickets, or you can buy subscriptions to Live Arts Maryland. Ernie and Live Arts Maryland are very generous with us, and we are so grateful to them. Of course, if the person standing next to me looks somewhat familiar to you, you might remember her from sitting generally in the front row here on the left-hand side, along with her parents. Or if you don't remember her sitting here on the left-hand side with her parents, then maybe you just remember her standing here at the Bima as a bat mitzvah here many years ago. Lena Goldstein. We are not related. Well, we may be related, but we don't know that we're related. But she is a student at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, and she has replaced, at least for the time being, chanting the Torah portion Shalach Lecha from her bat mitzvah. Chanting Shalach Lecha, she's replaced it with Signore Ascolta. Now, if you don't know it, that is from Turandot. She has replaced Viahavta with Visidarta Tosca. Only a handful of you guys smiled and laughed at that. But if you did laugh at that or smile at that, then it's because you enjoy listening to opera. Lena is quite accomplished in that regard, and it is such an honor to be standing here with her. It's a joy. It's more than just an honor, it's a joy. And so let's continue in our Machzor, our prayer book, on page 10 now. We call forward for the honor of lighting the Shabbat candles and the Rosh Hashanah candles, the High Holy Day Rosh Hashanah candles, the Yom Tov candles. We call forward Valerie Nichols. So we're on page 10.
Creation's brightest light, the mystics say, was hidden at the dawn of time. But on this sacred night, this night of hope and joy, a glimmer of that light is here, in candles' flame, in children's eyes, in eyes aglow with wisdom's light. It shines in the faces of the ones we love, in grateful hearts, in tears of loss. It lives in memories of goodness and in our own desire to do right, to try again, to build anew, to ask forgiveness and make peace. We enter this new year and look upon the beauty of these lights, so may the days of awe renew the light within us.
Oh
right, so page 12, let's continue responsively by paragraph. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Together, this is the season of the soul, a time to rejoice, a time to reflect, a time to return. Time to gather around the table with loved ones and friends, a time for song and silence, for prayer and confession, to open the heart, a time to retreat to our sanctuaries within, a time to renew the life and spirit of our community. This is the season of attentiveness, a time to notice what has unfolded and what has not, a time to regret, a time to forgive, a time to remember cherished dreams, high ideals, gracious. This is the season of hope, like mist rising at sunset, like dew descending at dawn. Our hopes beautify and nourish everything they touch. Our hopes make us partners in creation, pursuers of peace, people who aspire to a world of justice. This is the season of awe. When our eyes behold it, may we feel blessed. When we turn toward each other, let us be strengthened.
When we seek the holy, may we find purpose.
May we find courage. May we find love. Okay, we continue now on page 15, and we call forward to the honor to open the ark for us, Jenny Hurd, along with Risa Ganel, and we invite everyone to please rise. Page 15. Praise God with the blast of the shofar. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol teruah, mo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Page 19. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, yiratzon shenizkeh levirchotecha b'shanat chameshet alafim v'sheva ma'ot shmonim v'arba. Our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5784. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. We continue on page 20. Remain standing. This is the Baruch.
Oh
Page 22. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk as your wisdom opens the gates of night. Your discernment separates the changing season and causes the passage of time. The stars arrayed across the sky reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception. Living, eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. You know, there was a king who had two servants, the story goes. He loved them with complete love. He gave each of them a measure of wheat and a bundle of flax. The wise servant, what did he do? He took the flax and wove it into cloth. He took the wheat and made it into flour. He sifted it, ground it, kneaded it, and baked it. Then he arranged it on the table and spread the cloth over it. He left it until the king arrived. The foolish servant, on the other hand, did nothing. And after some time, the king came to his palace, and he said, "My children, bring me what I gave you." One brought out the bread on the table covered with the cloth. The other brought out the wheat in a box with the bundle of flax on top. When God gave the Torah to Israel, it was given to them as wheat from which to produce bread, and as flax from which to produce cloth.
Ki hayenu ve'orech yameinu ubachem negeh yomam v'layla ve'achabatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Please rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam.
Please be seated. Join us. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam ba'am v'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha v'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. So let's do this responsibly. Page 33. To break the bonds of anger, to be generous of heart, together, to break the bonds of shame, to live with self-respect, to break the bonds of envy, to serve one another in joy, to break the bonds of boredom, to be attentive, to break the bonds of fear, to live with courage and strength, to love with fullness, to break the bonds of loneliness, to receive a hand of hope, to break the bonds of self-centeredness, to extend a hand of God. Released from the darkness, our people found their freedom at the sea, and we pray for liberation at the dawning of this year. Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With power sublime, spread over us your shelter of shalom, and through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield, make us stronger than the enemies we face, illness and war, famine and sorrow, and stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings. For you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us, we who go forth in life. Watch over us, that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, aporei sukat shalom aleinu v'yakol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, blessed one, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem.
Hashivenu
additions that we have added, some special Shabbat additions to our service. One person joked with me earlier that this is the long Rosh Hashanah service because we have to do all those additions to the service. Well, one of those additions is Vishamru. It's a prayer specifically for this Shabbat day. It can be found on page 38. Standing on the snow-covered plain as if in a pasture amid the hills, I cut my way first through a foot of snow and then a foot of ice and open a window under my feet, where, kneeling to drink, I look down into the quiet parlor of the fishes, pervaded by a softened light as though a window of ground glass, with its bright sanded floor, the same as in the summer. There a perennial waveless serenity reigns, as in the amber twilight sky, corresponding to the cool and even temperament of the inhabitants. Heaven is under our feet, as well as over our heads.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה. אמן. ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. It's mam vit nase, vita dar, vita le, vita lol, shemedi kucha. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata.
Must not fall off our lips like dead leaves in the autumn. They must rise like birds out of the heart into the vast expanse of eternity. Please rise.
Make
Please be seated. Nice job. Bottom of 49. And so in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witnesses of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength, the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name. give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a world where evil has no voice, and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from the earth. 52. Avotenu v'imotenu ya'aleh v'yavo v'yiga. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of remembrance. Remember us, amen. Be mindful of us, amen. And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing, amen. So, Elie Wiesel tells the story of the one righteous man of Sodom who walked the street protesting against the injustices of the city. As you can imagine, the evil residents of Sodom mocked and derided and insulted him. And then, one day, a young person asked him, "Why do you continue your protest against evil? Can't you see that nobody is paying attention to you?" The righteous man answered, "At first I thought I would change the people in the city. Today I know that I cannot. But I will continue to protest to keep them from changing me." And so as we transition from prayers of praise to God and the sovereignty of God to prayers of wholeness and peace, we remain mindful of the fact that we are partners with God in making the world a better place. We continue with the beautiful melody of Ritzay, page 60. God who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever. Rock and protector of our lives, your saving power endures from age to age. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope, now and for all time. Page 66, Shalom Rav. if you experience joy, and I may or may not be able to get to everybody, but if you experience joy over, I'm not going to say over the last year, that would be a little too much, but if you experienced joy somewhat recently and you wanted to share it with the community, that's something which is very meaningful to us because I think I've said probably more than anything about our highest mission, our most important mission here at the congregation is to create a sense of community, to be a Rosh, holy community, and something I take very seriously and something that I care about very much. So that's the way you become a community, when you know about each other a little bit more. So if you'd like to share some joy, then just raise your hand, and I'll give you a call. Go ahead.
My sister just had baby boy. He is healthy.
Mazel tov. Baby boy. For those of you who gave it. Mazel tov. Anybody else want to share with me? Paul, go ahead.
Well, my sense of joy is because my brother Walter is here with me today.
Not the flags, that's the case. And I'm sure he feels the same way about having you next to him too. Mazel tov. Thank you, Paul. Bob. Came in from LA. Louisiana or Los Angeles? Los Angeles. Right. You got it. LA for me is Louisiana. For everybody else, it's Los Angeles. Yes.
I am very happy because I have my beautiful daughter with us tonight.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Being, again, the joy of family is so prevalent here on this evening. More, yes. You have a new puppy. That's joy. No question. That is joy. More, yes. Good.
I'm overjoyed to have my niece come with me to AU and came all the way out to Maryland.
Fantastic. Your niece is with you from AU. I guess that's American University, right? Wonderful. I'm so glad. Yes.
We celebrated our 50th anniversary.
50th anniversary. Wow. That's amazing. Amazing. I won't go into it's a lot sometimes I go into a little spiel about but I think about 50 or even more. But Mazel tov, that is amazing. Wonderful. Yeah.
Fabulous singer on the beat of this.
Indeed, the fabulous you know, that is a huge story, no doubt. Indeed, and I think we're other story? All right, good. Control again. By the way, on Shabbat, if you really want to see me embarrass myself, come on Shabbat and I have a guitar with me and I'll do it. Play a little bit after, but not tonight. Too many people, too scary. I only pick the guitar out in smaller numbers. Baruch atah Adonai Goel Chasadim Tovim, we praise you, Adonai, our God, for partnering with us in the many joys that are in our lives. Now we pause and flip a little bit and go from the joy to the struggle. Loved ones of ours are, we just sang the song Shalom Ra, which is Shalom, which you know as perhaps hello, goodbye, peace. But Shalom comes from the root word which means Shalem, which means wholeness. And because really peace is having a sense of wholeness. And so we recognize that there are loved ones in our community who don't have that sense of wholeness right now. They are struggling with pain, whether that pain is physical pain, or that pain is emotional pain or spiritual pain. All of these pains call out to us for healing. And I certainly do not believe and nor promise that prayers are going to bring healing to somebody. Prayers is, it's a very personal thing. I do, however, believe that when we join our words with each other, when we bring our voices together, that it gives us a sense of strength and helps us when we are struggling. And so I do actually believe that the words of this prayer help. It's not quite in the way that maybe our tradition wanted, But nonetheless, what I'm going to do is share with you the beginning of a prayer called Mishabera. And then I'm going to pause and give you a chance to share the name of a loved one or multiple loved ones who are in need of healing. And then we'll finish the blessing, and finally we'll sing. So first, and by the way I'll do it is, halfway through the blessing, I'll pause and I'll just kind of look around the room, and when my eye meets yours or your area, that's the time for you to say a person's name if you want. I'll try to meet everyone's eye. If I don't, if I get close, you can think of it as just me meeting your eye. So the blessing begins this way. Mishabera, Avotenu, Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Mi'imotenu, Surrounding Aleh, Barakah. Those words mean, may the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. We Erev, may your path, may God bless and heal all of our loved ones who are in need of healing, especially the ones who we named. So again, if you wish to share the name of a loved one in need of healing, please feel free to do so when my eye meets your area.
Rosalie Barber and Michelle Cornell.
Mary Beth Hambleton.
Mika Ram, Sapir Nadler, and Zane Gubman.
I'd like to add to that Beth Smith. I think I heard Sarah and Arden as well. Anybody else with all right. Yishlach lahem b'mehira u'refuah shalema. May God send them speedily a complete recovery. Refuat nefesh, refuat haguf, a healing of body and a healing of spirit. Tok sh'ar b'nei Yisrael, amongst all who are in need of healing. With no honor, amen. Let us say, amen. So we continue now with the singing of the Mishabera. That can be found on page, give me a second, 245.
Sarah Reeve
At this time, we continue now on page 74 as we call forward Susan and Kevin Turnock for the honor of opening the Ark for us for Avinu Malkeinu. Would everyone please rise? Avinu Malkeinu strong with the faith of generations before us. In exile, they proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution, they affirmed the transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our gods." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt, and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. We call you Avinu, as loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings, accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu, as sovereign of our souls, Help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves under page 77.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Otanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Amol Aleinu. Ve'alul Aleinu, v'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kosa, Umasin, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu,
Please be seated. So Moshe and Chaim are from Baltimore, and they decide that life in Pikesville just wasn't authentically Jewish enough for them. So they wanted to have more of that shtetl type of feel it's a reminder of the old country. And so they packed their bags and they flew to Riga in Latvia. And then they drove to Vidzeme. It's a region which is absolutely frigid beginning in late August. And Moshe and Chaim, they realized that they may have bitten off a little bit more than they could chew, and they found that life in Vidzeme was difficult and brutal, and so they turned to a life of crime in order to make money. This is a true story. They turned to a life of crime, and so what do you know, after a number of years, both of them died while running from the police, and they found themselves in hell, or in heck, just in case you felt uncomfortable with the language. So anyway, they're in hell, and Satan himself decides to pay a visit to these two Jews. But when Satan arrives, he sees that they are just talking and laughing. And so confused, he asks them why they are so happy. And they tell him that they have been in Vidzeme now for the past few years in Latvia, and it has been just so cold there that they are delighted by how toasty it feels right now. And so Satan storms off to the boiler room and raises the temperature. And he then goes back to the two Jews to see now how they're faring. And this time he sees the two Jews having a barbecue in their room with kosher foods and all. And Satan's like, what on earth is happening here? And the two Jews tell Satan again that they were just in Latvia and that they couldn't pass up on such nice weather that they're having right now, and they were going to have a barbecue. So then Satan realizes that he's been going about this the wrong way, and if he really wanted to torture these two Baltimore Latvian Jews, that he would go back to the boiler room and this time turn down the temperature so that it's colder than ever it has even been on earth. And so Satan then triumphantly marches back to these two Jews, only this time to find them jumping up and down in excitement. So Satan shouts out in fury, "Why are you both so happy?" And they look at him and exclaim, "The Orioles are going to the World Series." Now, so Satan's confused by this. You think it's funny. Satan's confused. He's like, what on earth could possibly make you think that the Orioles are going to the World Series? And they said, of course, hell has frozen over. Okay. This is the true stuff's true, by the way. I'm reading about it. All right, so the punchline of this joke can obviously be tailored to meet all sorts of different needs, and this year of all years, perhaps hell is indeed freezing over because the Orioles are doing quite well. But it, as so many other funny stories, all share the quality of misunderstanding, right, or being confused. And isn't this the same feeling that we have when we think about the name of these sacred days which have just begun? Right? We call these days the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe. 10 days starting this evening. The first day of the month of Tishrei and ending after Ne'ilah on the 10th day of Tishrei. You know, when Jacob made his journey from his home in Beersheba, away from his twin brother Esau, after having stolen the blessing, that he came to a place to set up camp for the night as he was running. And he had a dream. And in this dream, angels were going up and down a ladder. And at the top of the ladder was God. And God said to Jacob that he had nothing to fear and that all this land would be his. And then Jacob woke up. And this is what Jacob said. He says, "Ma nora hamakom hazeh." Translation, this place is awesome. And then Jacob set up a monument in that place and continued on his journey. And over the generations, various sages have grappled with the meaning of norah, awe. Awesome, awe. Was it a sense of dread that Jacob felt? Was it a recognition of the beauty of that place? Was he aware that something special had happened at that moment? Did he recognize that spot as being the place that Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac, who was his father? The same place. These are but a few of the various explanations of that feeling of awe that Jacob experienced. Our sages, even in their various interpretations, understood something very important for us. That awe is an emotion that is both critical and also elusive. And perhaps more importantly, something that we as humans are hardwired to reach out for. While philosophers and theologians have explored awe for centuries, science has ignored it until recently. And in the past recent years that science has been exploring awe, we have learned so much about the benefits of feeling awe, both for our physical selves, our mental, our emotional well-being. All of these can be truly, truly affected by awe. So, let me explain to you a little bit. What have we discovered? That experiencing awe makes us more curious and less judgmental. It makes us feel more connected and less lonely. It makes us feel more whole and less broken. According to Dr. Keltner, professor of psychology at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and author of a recently published book on awe, there are 8 categories of awe. It includes epiphanies, musical connection, art connection, birth, death, spirituality. All these can bring out awe. But tonight, I wish to point out 3 types of experiences which lead to awe and which can be experienced every single day if you allow it. The first type of awe is the awe that comes from moral beauty. Have you ever been a bystander to an extraordinary act of courage, or resilience, or kindness? Have you ever been amazed by how a neighbor acted so selflessly? This is a primary trigger for awe. I recently heard the story of a person whose daughter was dealing with the stillbirth of her son. And this person was telling me of the extraordinary strength and bravery of her daughter. She couldn't believe how strong her daughter could be, and how it left her in awe. Think back 22 years and a few days ago, September 11th. Chaos and devastation at the World Trade Center in New York. People were desperately scrambling to run down the stairs and out of the buildings. At the South Tower, people on the 78th floor, there was something called the Sky Lobby. And they huddled together, frightened and confused. There was no escape, as they could tell. And then, like an angel, Wells Crowther appeared. Wells Crowther, who is this guy? He was an equity trader who worked on the 104th floor. He tended to people's injuries, calmly guided them to stairwell A, the only escape for them, and led them to a group of firefighters who were on the 61st floor. And those firefighters helped them get to a working elevator on the 40th floor. And did he go down with these people he helped? No. He returned to the sky lobby on the 78th floor 3 more times, but not a 4th. And by the way, those firefighters who went between the 61st and 40th floor, they too never made it out of the South Tower. No less than 12 people say that he saved their lives, because they famously remember him as the man with the red bandana. I'm in awe of the man in the red bandana. And this is the awe of moral beauty. When you recognize strength and courage and beauty in someone else and it inspires you to be a better person, when you realize that the world is bigger and better than you are or than I am, and because of that person's actions, you want to be better, it's the awe of moral beauty. You know, as I think about this selfless hero of 2 decades ago, I'm reminded of a great quote from the book of Job. The speaker says, "A great trembling came upon me, and it made the hair of my body stand up straight." I guess the translators of the Bible didn't feel comfortable saying goosebumps. But I think that's what we know it meant. When I hear stories of moral beauty, not just extraordinary heroic stories, but even the more commonplace, it gives me goosebumps of awe because I know that the world is a good and beautiful place and that these people reassure me of that truth. Switch gears with me for a second. Travel with me to the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Who hasn't stood at the rim of the canyon and not felt that you were in the presence of something so vast that it transcended our current understanding of the world? Or the same can be said for the scope and power of Niagara Falls. You know, over the past 30 years, I've spent a fair amount of time in southwestern Montana near Yellowstone. You know, from the top of the mountain at Big Sky, you can see all the way to the Grand Tetons in Jackson Hole, 140 miles away. If you've ever been so fortunate to be in an airplane landing in Denver or Salt Lake City, it takes your breath away. That's awe. That is what we thirst for as human beings. We want to feel like we are part of something greater than ourselves. You know, I remember Laura McDaniel, and I know a lot of you here remember Laura. A longtime member of Temple Beth Shalom. Her husband, Ed, is here with us today. She recently passed away. She was a remarkably reflective and interesting and interested woman. Literally until her very last breaths. And she shared with me the story of a trip she had taken with the family to California to see the redwoods of Sequoia National Park. These trees are 350 feet tall. What did Laura tell me that she did when she saw those trees? She stopped in her tracks and she meditated. She tried to consider every last inch of height so that she could appreciate the significance of that creation. She was in awe. And I know she is not the only one who has felt that way. We live in Annapolis. Many of you are drawn to the waters. Imagine how empty you would feel without those waters. And that sense of awe changes everything. Think about what happens when you're on a boat or on a hike or on a mountaintop. right? It makes you want to eat healthier. Just being on a hike makes you want to eat healthy. Suddenly, you become a kinder individual and more friendly. Strangely, you become more open and more humble and less judgmental just because you're on a boat, just because you're on a hike. That's because of the awe that you feel. Awe makes us better people. Now, if you struggle to find awe in observing moral beauty, and if you're not a nature person, perhaps you might look in a third place. The awe that comes from collective experiences. Collective experiences are when many people sharing an experience merge into a collective self, a tribe, an oceanic we. Have you ever heard of Burning Man? It was in the news a few weeks ago because of the significant mud. So I've never been to Burning Man, but I've thought about it and researched it and really tried to understand it. It's like a festival in northwest Nevada that weaves together various elements of life into collective being. There's no money at Burning Man, right? People trade with each other, and people gift to each other. You share food with each other, and I have heard that you're almost compelled to hug one another when you meet. And sunrises and sunsets are all encountered by communal oohs, ahs, and woes. Or, let me tell you what it's like. Let me try to tell you what it's like to be in the Louisiana Superdome for a New Orleans Saints football game. 75,000 people screaming their voices hoarse. It gets to 130 decibels, which is the same as the engine of a jet taking off. Now, this is only when the Saints are on defense, of course. When we're on offense, we're quiet just to make sure that the players can hear the plays correctly. But we're screaming in unison. We are yelling, "Who dat?" in lockstep with the entire stadium. It's extraordinary. And why would I submit my ears to 3 hours of that noise? Not to mention the fact that it is much harder to follow the game in person than it is when you're watching it on television. Why? Because to be one of those 75,000 people, it's electric. It makes me feel so good. I'm part of something bigger than myself. And I know that many of you here are not sports fans. So replace my feeling in the Superdome with a Taylor Swift concert. Or the Pride Parade in Annapolis. I'm trying to go in every direction I can. It's transformative. That's why we never refer to those experiences as merely fun. Oh, how was the game? Fun? No, it was awesome. Powerful. How was the concert? Fun? Who says that? Because it's not fun. It's more. The word fun just doesn't do justice to that experience. And you know where else we can create that collective effervescence, that collective sense of awe? Right here at the synagogue, in the sanctuary. Temple Beth Shalom can be a place of awe as well. I know that I see many of you here during the High Holy Days, and not that much more during the year. I know it. It's okay. I thank you for your support. We could not be here without you. We need it. I'm so grateful. Still, don't you feel like you're part of something special when you come here on the holidays? Don't you feel like the dopamines in your brain are being released when you're here? When you listen to Lena? It's like, wow. You felt like you were part of something bigger. It probably comes as little surprise. But our mystical tradition called Kabbalah has something to say about awe too. One of my favorite teachings refers to that story about Jacob that I mentioned earlier, Jacob and the ladder, and how he said that his feeling, when he saw the angels going up and down the ladder, that it filled him with awe. And the Zohar, which is the text for our mystical tradition, it said that Jacob was filled with shleimut, it said. By the way, the same root as shalom, shleimut, wholeness. And it says, and then goes on to say, every time we feel a sense of wholeness, it always begins with awe. This is Rosh Hashanah. It begins the days of awe. It ends at Ne'ilah, the closing service of Yom Kippur. But if you want a secret to creating joy and wholeness in your life, let all your days be days of awe. Look for ways to see the remarkable strength in other people. I assure you, you can find it at every turn you make. Just think about the cashier at the grocery store who is a single mother working a second job. Look for ways to see how small you are in the vast miracles of nature. After all, wasn't it Ralph Waldo Emerson who famously wrote, "In the woods, we return to reason and faith. There I feel that nothing can befall me in life, no disgrace, no calamity, which nature cannot repair." Or the magical feeling of being part of a collective, whether that is on the dance floor or in a sports stadium or a concert hall listening to Live Arts Maryland, and you can get it there too, or in this beautiful sanctuary of Temple Beth Shalom. You can find reasons to feel awe everywhere if you but open your senses to it, because awe makes us better people. Awe makes us more whole. Awe enables us to be the people we want to be. One last story, quick. It's about Samson Raphael Hirsch, who was the 19th century rabbi credited with creating modern Orthodox Judaism. He told his students that he would be taking some time off from teaching because he needed to go to Switzerland. His students were puzzled. He was a man in his 70s making a somewhat difficult trip, and so they asked him, "Why Switzerland?" And Hirsch said to them, "My students, soon I will die, and I will stand before the Almighty. I will need to answer many questions. But what will I say when I am asked, 'Shimshon, Samson, my son, it's true that you did many mitzvot, but did you remember to see my Alps?' Perhaps missing from that story is one more sentence. Perhaps it should have ended this way. Did you remember to see my Alps? Because if you didn't, how can you have expected to be the person you wanted to be?" Shana Tova.
I see trees also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Tried to get her to do it in the gravelly Louis Armstrong voice. But it just didn't work that way. We continue now on page 78 with Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'am, ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידושנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה, את יום השבת הזה, ואת יום הזיכרון הזה, יום זיכרון תרועה, באהבה מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ודברך אמת, וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת ישראל ויום הזיכרון. אמן. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל. מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש השבת בישראל.
ויום הזיכרון. At this time, we call upon the president of our congregation to share with us some congregational announcements.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Rabbi, I'm in awe. I'm in awe. I mean, I had to come back with that word, but Lena, thank you. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Temple Beth Shalom, we wish you a year of blessing and of peace. My thanks to the many people who made this evening's service possible. Rabbi Goldstein, cantorial soloist, our very own Lena Goldstein. You see, I'm claiming you again. Conductor Ernie Green, Lori Hayes, pianist, members of Nashera, and of course the Annapolis Chorale and Draper Carter from Life Arts, Maryland. Our administrator, Jill Sussman, our office staff, Sandy Baresi, Penny Croydon, and Georgiana Gross, and our religious school director, Tracy Greenberg. Mary West, the ritual committee, our ushers, as well as all the police officers I see scrolling around. So thank you guys for providing protection to our Temple Beth Shalom community. Each year at this time, Temple Beth Shalom collects food for our local food pantry, My Brother's Pantry. Please take an empty grocery bag when it's handed out to you by members of our Social Action Committee. Fill it with unexpired, non-perishable items from the list stapled to the bag, and bring your food donations when you come back for Yom Kippur. Tomorrow morning service begins at 10 a.m., of course. At the same time, we will have junior congregation for children in grades 4 to 7 and congregation K through 3rd, or 3 to 3, age 3 for the younger children. The family service will begin at 2 p.m. The Tashlik service will begin at 4 p.m. tomorrow at the beach in the Stonington neighborhood. Be sure to bring your own bread. Please pick up directions to the beach in the lobby and be respectful of private property when you park. Members of our community will gather at Hillcrest Cemetery on Sunday, September 17 at noon to say Kaddish and remember loved ones. You can help our parking situation by remembering that the fewer cars, the better. Thank you for your respect of the people who need reserved parking. Please join us immediately following the service for an Oneg Shabbat, the Rosh Hashanah, in the lobby outside, and I promise you it's delicious. We thank everyone who brought food. To each of you, my Temple Beth Shalom family, Shana Tova.
So our service continues now on page 82 with Aleinu, and we invite everyone to please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו בכם, וגורלנו ככל המונה. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated. 85. May the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. So may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה
The light of life is a finite flame. Like our sacred candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance, and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down in gutters. There's an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. And so, at this moment of sacred memory, we bring to mind our loved ones who have been called to their eternal rest. As this is Shabbat, we share the names of loved ones who have passed away, both recently and also those whose yahrzeits occur on this Shabbat. And so I would like to mention that two have passed away somewhat recently in the most recent 30 days. We call this the period of Shloshim, for Judy Sarubin, wife of Jay Resnick, and Don Singer, husband of Mary McCutcheon. And we also remember at this time these loved ones whose yahrzeits occur on this Shabbat. It is the anniversary of their passing. Jonathan Weeder, Lester Ackerman, Minnie Gessner, David Leib Kresalovsky, Astrid Ora Lucas, Martin Bloom, Ruth Ratner, Betty Shapiro, Nicholas Avalone, Gerald Cantor, and Judith Hoffberger. And so in gratitude for their lives and linking their names truly with all of our loved ones who do not occupy the seats next to us, but they once did, we remember them now with the words of our mourner's prayer, which is called the Kaddish. It can be found on page 90, and if it's your custom, I invite you to please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechal beit Yisrael, b'agala v'bizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'alam ulamei amaya, v'rach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram b'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to every bereaved heart. Please be seated. Thank you. So our service concludes with a few things. First, a closing song, and that is Adon Olam, and that can be found, I think, on page 94. Yes, 94. And after Adon Olam, one final benediction. Adon Olam 94.
Shemoni Ra,
May this day, Rosh Hashanah, be a day of wonder for you. May you be touched by the connections of people who join you in communal mission. May this week, between our two holiest days, be a week of awe, when our minds and our hearts are open to making ourselves and our relationships and this world a better place, and to see ourselves not as the center of the world, but as part of something so much bigger. May this month of Tishrei, which begins with a moonless sky and marches towards Sukkot at the halfway point and then gently concludes moonless again with the beginning of the Torah cycle, be a month of rediscovered hopes and reconsidered possibilities. And may this year, the year we call 5784, be a year of renewal for us, a year in which we work towards becoming the people we want to be. This is not just a task for these days before us, but a commitment for the year to come. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech, et amo v'shalom. May God grant strength unto us all, and may we all be blessed, peace and health. Amen. Shana tov.
Shana Tova.
Abba, Ima, and Aaron, and anyone else who's watching. We know Aaron's on there. We know my parents are watching.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Oh, that's okay. So,